Hey everybody, it's your boy Matt. Yes, I still feel the need to start my videos like that. I wanted to record a quick, well hopefully quick, impressions / reaction video because I am extremely fortunate that I got to watch an early version of ULTRAMAN Rising on Netflix. The co-director Shannon Tindle helped set me up with Netflix to get an advanced screener version of it, you know, the preview version, a little while before the movie actually came out. And so I'm pre-recording this, and it will be released, you know, closer to when the movie actually officially drops. But I wanted to record a couple of quick impressions after watching it last night. I did kind of sleep on it a little bit, but it is still really fresh in my mind. I wanted to start off by saying just a little bit of my bona fides in case you're coming to this and you don't know who I am or what I do. Well, my name is Matt. Matt Frank, as the channel says. I am an artist and a writer. I'm mostly known for doing comics, mostly known for doing Godzilla comics, but I've done a fair amount of Ultraman work. Actually, around that corner there is my Ultraman pinball machine that I did the artwork for through Spooky Pinball, and so I'm definitely not unfamiliar with the franchise. I'm wearing my Ultraman Tiga shirt as well, just for fun. So some just impressions of the film. I don't want to say that I wasn't expecting the film to be as good as it was. I knew it was going to be, like, the pedigree associated with it between Shannon Tindle and John Aoshima. The pedigree is really strong. It has a really strong creative team, and I knew it was going to be, like, there is a certain level of quality to be kind of expected. Like, I knew it was going to be good. I knew it was going to be, like, at the very, very least, rock solid, you know, like a good, fun family film. What I was not expecting was the level of, I would argue, like, across the Spider-Verse level character development and just like emotional vulnerability and emotional honesty that I think we are really seeing a renaissance for as far as younger targeted animated films and animated media goes. I think that there has been a real renaissance in the last, especially in the last 10 to 20 years, of these animated films that are ostensibly for children and families by extension, that are grappling with a lot of themes of emotional honesty, and I think that's really, really, really interesting and kind of beautiful. Like, this movie in particular felt different in a way that I'm honestly finding difficult to put into words. It was, to put it in a nutshell, it was just really solid and really well made and just very high quality. The animation alone was worth the price of admission, you know. I mean, it's Netflix, but I would have absolutely gone to the theaters to see this. I mean, not just because I'm an Ultraman fan, but just the style of it and the visuals of it were so strong and so impressive. And I think that some viewers, some audiences have been a little put off by some of the stylization of the character design. Personally, I think it gives the movie a really unique look, and I think that if you can kind of push yourself past that point and kind of meet the film on its own terms, I don't think it's as I think you kind of go with it, and it's not too distracting. I would describe the animation style as somewhere of a marriage between, like, kind of the Spider-Verse style and almost a Tartakovsky-esque style, and yet everything still kind of feels Japanese, which is really important for an Ultraman production, because Ultraman is so Japanese to the point where it's honestly had a really hard time breaking in overseas. Well, not in other countries aside from America. I feel like a lot of other countries are actually really on board with Ultraman, you know, especially in places like China and Malaysia and around Southeast Asia, and even in places like Mexico and South America, Central and South America and stuff. But it feels like America in particular has had some difficulty with Ultraman throughout the years. That's not to say that there isn't a strong Ultraman fan base in the States. There absolutely is, especially in the last 5 or so years, because of this giant push that Super Eye has been making into the States, you know, spearheaded by some really awesome people over at like Starlight Runner and the licensing group have really been pushing for Ultraman to have more of a presence in the West. If there was something that was going to tip it in the favor of getting it more attention stateside, Ultraman Rising, I think, is that. I would be surprised if people didn't speak very highly of this film. If this film didn't get really good word of mouth, that would be very surprising to me. Again, because it taps into these cores of emotional honesty that I think older audiences and older critics are really going to vibe with. But it also is a very colorful and very, and it moves at a good clip, and it is also very funny. I think there's a lot of really cute stuff in it. To give a quick rundown, I'm going to try my best to avoid spoilers, but just to give a quick rundown, so the film kind of reframes Ultraman. It presumes a certain level of familiarity, but I don't think that's a detriment. I think it's presuming a level of familiarity that one would presume with, say, some of the more recent Spider-Man films, where or Batman or other American superhero films, where it's like, you know, this character, like, you really don't have to get into the details, the nitty-gritty of the origin of this character. Ultraman is a legacy character. It's been around for a long time, but they're really literalizing it in this story, in that the main character, Ken Sato, is literally the son of Ultraman. So it's kind of taking a somewhat similar route to the Ultraman anime that's also on Netflix, based on the manga, that takes this whole route of like, oh, well, this is the son of the original Ultraman. He sort of inherited some of his father's powers and stuff. But in that case, it's not as literal. They use, you know, the characters use power suits in that franchise, in that kind of sub-franchise, whereas in this version, it's a literal, like, I am the next Ultraman. They don't go into the details, but I kind of like that, because it kind of, you engage the film on its own merits of, like, Ultraman simply is Ultraman, and he's a giant superhero that fights monsters, and that's all you really need to know. And it's all, you know, it kind of goes through this this whole character arc of Ken Sato trying to live up to the standard set by Ultraman and be this new Ultraman. And the method by which they do that is introducing the arc of fatherhood, which has also become a major recurring theme in a lot of franchise media in the last, you know, especially in the last, you know, 10 years, 15 years. This idea of, like, you know, like in God of War, for example, make Kratos into a dad. Last of Us, it's about being a dad. It's about being a parent. And in this case, it is about Ultraman suddenly having to take care of a baby kaiju in the form of Emmy, and Emmy is adorable. Emmy is, I think, going to be, I think a lot of people were kind of worried that it was going to be, you know, sort of Scrappy-Doo-esque, kind of Poochie-esque, this, or Godzuki-esque, even though I have a soft spot for Godzuki, of just like this obnoxiously cute, very toyetic character, when I think they do a really good job of balancing that with making this character just really cute and also kind of obnoxious because it is a baby, and this idea of this little life that you have to protect, and you were suddenly responsible for this little life. But also there's a recurring theme of balance that I think is really interesting, because I think there's a lot of parent narratives that tend to focus on give everything up for your child. Never put yourself first. Never take time for yourself. That's selfish. You exist for your child. And that narrative is being challenged a little bit in this. Not that it's, obviously it's not swinging the other direction. It's just, again, trying to find balance, which I think is really important, especially in both Japan and America. I don't want to get too deep into spoilers, of course, but I think it's a really, really important narrative about basically cutting yourself some slack and cutting others some slack, and also being there for each other, which is also core to the themes of Ultraman. I really do think this movie does a great job embodying the core themes of Ultraman that drew me to it, aside from just, it's a giant superhero that fights monsters, which is what drew me to it as a kid. And now as an adult, I really put a lot of value in Ultraman's emotional vulnerability and emotional honesty. I think that those aspects of the narrative are really important, and I think that this movie takes those elements, the earnestness of Ultraman and adapts it for a more international audience, while still retaining what I think are some very Japanese feelings. Especially, Ultraman Blazar, the most recent Ultraman series, also dealt with themes of fatherhood. And I honestly wish could have gone more into that, because, it was only 25 episodes, and I think they could have easily gone to 40 episodes on that one. But, that's not the way the Ultraman live action shows are being made right now. Anyway, I think it was tremendous. And I think that if there was something that was going to really help wedge Ultraman, the only way Ultraman is really going to wedge itself firmly in American pop culture is if there's some kind of big budget Hollywood adaptation, which I think runs an even higher risk of losing the thread of what Ultraman is. Shin Ultraman comes close. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they just took the Power Rangers route and just recut Shin Ultraman into an American hub. The thing is, and I want to talk for a minute about the difficulties of adapting Ultraman for Western audiences, that I think this movie both addresses and also sidesteps, because a lot of the aspects that make Ultraman what it is are also aspects that Americans sometimes find difficult. For example, aesthetically, it's very hard for Americans to get on board with Ultraman, because a lot of Americans aren't really sure what he's supposed to be. Like, he's kind of remained mostly unchanged. Like, every legacy Ultraman since the original is largely unchanged. They are these giant aliens, these giant heroes, but they're also very nakedly actors in costumes. With somebody like characters like Power Rangers or Super Sentai or even Kamen Rider, and of course with all the American superheroes, this idea of like you're just putting a costume on, or even like an armored suit, like in the Ultraman Netflix anime series, that's a little easier to wrap your heads around. In fact, that's what I've noticed, that a lot of more casual Ultraman enjoyers, people who aren't as into the live action Ultraman series, tend to be a little more, they tend to be able to wrap their heads more around the anime series with their mech suits, their powered suits, power armor, than the classic Ultraman, which you're, again, just supposed to take it on face value that this is a giant superhero. This is a giant alien, and he just looks like that. He just has this like weird helmet face and this rubbery suit looking skin or whatever. It's all very nebulous in a way. And if your hero is not immediately relatable visually, it's very difficult, I've noticed, for Americans to kind of get behind that. Even characters like Spider-Man, who wear full costumes, full suits, are still intensely relatable because they're constantly talking. You know, Spider-Man talks all the time. That's part of his character. He's quippy. And that makes him, again, instantly relatable. Whereas Ultraman typically transforms and doesn't talk. He just fights and grunts and stuff. And that's, you know, that's part of, you know, that's just part of the character. It's only in recent years that they've introduced the idea of the host of Ultraman, or the human form of Ultraman, being inside and kind of being in this ultra space, that I do think is important to help newer generations of kids relate to Ultraman and see themselves in Ultraman. Whereas, as opposed to other hero characters, making Ultraman relatable, is one of those things that's also very tricky, because Ultraman has historically been very aspirational, in a lot of ways, like Superman. Like, it's one of the reasons why Superman has also had a lot of difficulty being adapted in recent years, because making him relatable on a level that studios think audiences want is difficult. There's other ways, of course, to make characters like Ultraman and Superman relatable. You know, there are ways to do it. It's been proven. But a lot of people who put, you know, a lot of money into mass market media have difficulty with, like, well, we have to make it relatable. It has to be hero's journey. It has to be this. It has to be that. But relatable in these kind of broad stroke ways that I think, when it comes to Ultraman, are very difficult to do. And I actually think this movie does a really good job of that by presenting Ultraman as this aspirational figure that everybody is supposed to look up to and everybody loves, and then suddenly giving that power to somebody who maybe doesn't want the power and is more doing it out of a sense of obligation. Again, not to get too far into spoilers, I think is also really, really, really interesting. And also something that has been tapped into a little bit in the past. But anyway, I feel like if I talk any more about it, I'm going to start getting into spoilers, and I've already been talking for a while. So yeah, I've got my little Schwatch Ultraman, my little Specimen Beam Ultraman here, and I've also got my little UltraMatt, based on some fan art I got for my birthday and made for me by the lovely Carla out in Thailand. So yay, UltraMatt. We're gonna set that down for now. So yeah, he's our hero, Ultraman. Yes, lots of Easter eggs. Lots of Easter eggs, especially if you're a diehard Ultraman fan. I think Japanese Ultraman fans are also really going to like it, just because of how I just thought it was really excellent. And I think that this movie is going to be to the Ultraman franchise for what Spider-Verse was for, like, Spider-Man movies. Anyway, it's our hero, Ultraman.